Kenney Kelley from Big Brother 26.
My great honor. It's my great honor to have Kenney Kelley on, who, Kenney, I learned about you through every person on this show that watches Big Brother religiously. I believe Lunchbox's wife saw you on the Big Brother stream.
Yeah, the feeds, live feeds late at night. And he started talking about his dream being on the Bobby Bones show.
Now, well, I don't know if that's true.
No, that's why I went down.
Kenney, first of all, thank you for being here. Did you mention on the feed?
Absolutely. That was my plan going in. I wanted to make sure I mentioned the Bobby Bones show. It's one of my best shows every morning. Listen to you guys. I love you, all of you. That was my way going in. I'm an Arkansas fan. We have a kid from my town that I coach basketball in that was the 3-point shooter for Arkansas, so I've always loved you.
Wait, Pat Bradley?
Yeah, Pat Bradley, yep.
What?
Oh, wow.
Hey, just two Arkansas guys chopping it up, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Just two Arkansas.
Yeah, but actually, before I went in the house, I reached out to him. I said, hey, let Bobby Bones know I'm going on the show. I'm going to give him a shout out.
That is wild. Well, I'm so excited, and thank you for listening to the show and going on the show. I and Lunchbox and Ray, we have questions about Big Brother in general. Can you answer those, or are you on some sort of will you go to Big Brother jail?
I can probably answer some of them.
Yeah.
A lot of times on the live feeds, I'm sure if Lunchbox's wife hears it, they tell us to stop talking about production, but I'll try and answer whatever I can without getting in trouble.
Personally, though, so you're a police officer. Are you an undercover cop? What do you do now, or what did you do?
So I'm still a police officer. I did undercover work for the DEA for about 22 years, all over the country. And now I'm just kind of like a regular guy working in the schools as a school officer with a couple other people, and riding out the rest of my career doing stuff that's better for the community.
Look at this guy, DEA, 23 years. Come on.
So when you do...
I never kick Kenney out of my house. Yeah.
Okay, this has me curious. When you do undercover drug work for 23 years and then you go on a popular TV show, do some of the people in the drug world see you on TV and they're like, wait a second.
That's Ralphie, my dealer.
Yeah. What is that make you nervous?
I'm sure it did, but no, I'm not nervous about it.
Oh.
I think there's a code, it's a job that I do, and it's my job to catch them. It's their job not to get caught.
Cool.
I got a question, Kenney. When you dreamed about going on the show, and listen, it just started off bad. It started off from the jump, you got in the wrong alliance, you're on the block, you're up for eviction the first night. Is that part of the reason that you were just so down the whole time, or was it really you missed your family?
So I actually, it did play a huge part in it, of course. Being on the block, being so close to the door, looking like I could probably go home that week, and missing my family was a big part of it. But my plan going in was to play up the live feeds and talk about my family and my wife and how much I loved them and how much I missed them, which I really do. Because being a police officer can go either way. People either like you or they don't like you, or maybe you're something in the middle. And I wanted people to know that I was more than just the undercover police officer in the house, that I was a dad, I was a husband, I was a son. And that was kind of my way of doing that. But in turn, doing that, it made my emotions go through the roof. I made a plan with my wife to talk on the live feeds at 5 o'clock every night to my kids. And once that was over, and once I'm doing that, I was choking up. I was, tearing up. I was getting emotional because it was a long period of time before I even got in the house that I was sequestered with no contact with them at all.
Why'd you go on the show?
So the story basically starts, my wife's an undercover police officer too. That's how we met.
Hey.
And she was really into Big Brother. And I was trying to figure out a way to have more conversations with her. So she kept talking about her and her girlfriends watching Big Brother. So that's how I kind of got into the show. So it was kind of her fault that I got into it. So I'd have something to talk about with her. And just all of her friends telling me, wow, your personality would be really good. You'd be good in the show. And one day I was working in Boston and they called me up and said there was an open casting call. And I walked across the street to a popular place in the Boston area, and I went through the casting call, and 5-6 years later, they end up putting me on the show.
Were you happy when you were eliminated? I didn't see it, so was he happy?
It felt like, because one day he'd be like, look, guys, I just want you to vote me out. I miss my family. I'm so tired. And then, 8 hours later, he's like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to win that veto comp, and you guys aren't getting rid of me. I'm here to win. And then he'd lose the veto comp. He'd be like, yo, guys, I just want you guys to vote me out. I don't want to be here. And then he would be like, you know what? I'm going to go in that AI arena and I'm going to win and you guys aren't getting rid of me. So I couldn't tell if that was his, he was trying
strategy, maybe?
Yeah, or if he was really trying to get voted out.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of strategy. But the problem is in the house, everything happens on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then when Sunday comes, it's just Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of nothing, trying to talk to people. And I was 52 years old. The other person that was as old as me was Angela, and she was kind of crazy. So we didn't have anything in common, and I didn't have a lot of things to talk to the young people about. So it became difficult during those periods of time. But when it came time for the competitions, I was all in. I was trying to win. Lunchbox, I did win a huge veto in week 2 and took myself out of block. So I always was trying to win. But at the end of the day, I did miss my family. But by winning, it kept me in the house.
You made a great point there. You say there's a lot that goes on those 3 days of the week, and then it's just kind of dead time. Is it absolutely boring in that house? Because I watched the show and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could handle 90 days inside a house and be that bored.
Yeah, there was a lot of downtime, especially for me. You know, I wasn't looking for any showmances. I'm married to a beautiful wife. So I wasn't looking for any of that. So there was a lot of downtime for me. So it did get very boring. And unfortunately, a lot of the conversations that the young kids got into that I started listening to and trying to get engaged with, they a lot of times turned inappropriate. And they were for like Big Brother After Dark. And I didn't want to ever say anything that came off inappropriate or that, came off across wrong. So I kind of was walking on eggshells with conversations. So I was a lot quieter in the house than I am in regular life.
What's the showering like? What's the food situation like? Do they bring food?
Oh, showering is weird, dude.
Pardon my ignorance here,
Yeah.
Kenney.
Yeah, so it's one bathroom, 2 kind of like open showers. One is a cold shower, one's a hot shower because there's what they call have-nots in the house. So you're either selected to be a have-not or you lose a competition and you have to eat like a slop, and then you take cold showers and you sleep in bad arrangements. Fortunately for me, I never had to do that. And then there's a hot shower, but there is a little curtain in between, and can be a little awkward showering and having conversations with people because it's like a giant open bathroom. But I was in the military, so that kind of stuff really didn't bother me. I deployed a couple of times, and stuff didn't bother me, but it does take some getting used to.
Raymundo, Kenny's on with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kenney, quick question. I'm a massive Big Brother fan. So you guys, I've always wondered, when you're in the kitchen, you can kind of hear what's happening in the backyards. You could kind of predict what game they're setting up, correct? That's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, no, it's impossible. They actually have a giant thing that goes over that door and you can't see it. So you can be locked out of the yard for days at a time. And sometimes you can hear stuff, sometimes you can't. But for the most part, we don't know what the game is until that day.
And then also, I've always wondered, food-wise, I mean, we can all afford food. We have jobs. But you go in there, and I've been told you can just get whatever you want. If you want M&Ms and ice cream and you're not a have-not, you can go tell production to go get it for you, right?
For the most part, you can ask for stuff. Yeah! But, I mean, if you're asking for, like, T-bone steaks or stuff, they're not going to give you that. They kind of save that. You have, options when you become the head of household. You can ask for luxury items. But generally, they kind of know going in what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat, if you have an allergy or things like that. And they stock it up really good.
And you guys also know who's a popular contestant because that person obviously will be in the diary room a lot more than the other people. So did you kind of sense that maybe some of the other people were more standout to America?
Yeah, I would say that's not true because you're going in the diary room a lot, and week to week, the people that are mostly going into the diary room are the people that have won the head of household, are playing in the veto, are playing in the IA, and things like that. If you win the veto, obviously you win there a lot. You talk about it. So it just seems like whoever's interacting more with the game that week, because not everybody gets to play the veto, and those 6 people usually will spend the most time in the diary room. Or if, like myself, I was not having a good days some days, I went into the diary room to vent a little bit.
Can you lie about who you are in the house?
Oh, people lie all the time. When he went in, he wasn't going to tell anybody he was a cop. He wasn't going to tell anybody he was military. But the only problem is he's got a tattoo on his arm. First thing someone goes, "Hey man, that looks like a military tattoo." He's like,
Is that true, Kenney? What was your plan?
Yeah, I mean, my wife's a huge fan. She adamantly refused that I could not say that I was a police officer because in years past, there was a Big Brother from Providence, Derek, who ended up winning Big Brother, and he was an undercover police officer. So she thought it would be detrimental to my game. It was difficult for me because I'm super proud to be a police officer. That's why I really respect your show. You guys are always putting us in a positive light and really showing the good things that we do. So I appreciate that. So I had a hard time lying about that because I am proud about being a police officer. And, looking back now, I wish I had went in there and said exactly who I was.
If given the chance and they called and they said, "Hey, we're doing a fan favorites. We'd like for you to come back." Would you go back?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it was It was a great experience, but the isolation, people don't understand the isolation of not knowing what's going on in the house. I will say this, after I got out of the house and I realized I was pretty popular within America and people kind of liked me, I was nervous about that. I wasn't sure how I was being portrayed. So being completely isolated from your family, no emails, no TV, no internet, no nothing. Like, they don't tell you anything. Like, I didn't even know that there was an assassination attempt on Trump until I got out.
That's crazy. That massive news.
Wow, they didn't tell you that
wow.
because, like, even Real World, they weren't allowed TVs in Real World.
But 9/11 they showed.
Yes,
them, right?
they
That's
showed
the
them.
one thing.
They put a TV in there and let them watch 9/11.
One more question around the room, Ray.
Yeah, so stipend-wise, not to get like too much into it, but I've just been told that you guys really don't make that much on the show unless you win a prize or unless you win the whole damn thing. So is it really beneficial to go on if you get a pretty basic stipend?
Yeah, it was pretty basic. I think it was. Look at me. I'm on the Bobby Bones show. This is great. This is unbelievable. So the experience was really good for me. But yeah, you don't make a lot of money unless you make it to the end. And figure after taxes, California gets you with a prize tax. Massachusetts would have got me with a income tax. It wouldn't have been a whole bunch of money. I mean, it would have been great. It would have been life changing for the time being. But it's not millions and millions of dollars. So it's really the experience and the social experiment that took place in there over the 3 weeks that I was there was absolutely insane.
It says 16 new house guests taking a shot at winning the $750,000. Is that what the
Yeah.
big prize? So to his point, let's say California taxes 40%.
Oh no. Then Massachusetts, you have to pay in 2 separate states?
Well, I would imagine.
Well, that's why you need to go on Survivor. They're in a different country. They can't take it.
Well, no, that's not exactly how the law works.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's still a lot of money, like Kenney said. But it's probably $400,000. I mean, $354.
That's still pretty good.
It's still great money, but it's not like you get to retire for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Type money. But it'd be awesome for a few months. But then you got to get off your job too, which luckily, Kenney military, Kenney was DEA, Kenney's working at school. This guy needs like a Nobel Prize or something. Lunchbox, last question.
Yeah, Kenney, is the first time you meet Julie Chen when you walk out on stage that first night when you're about to go in the house, or is there other times where you're hanging out with her and you meet her before the show and then after the show you're hanging out with her?
Yeah, no, it almost was like I was kidnapped. I couldn't see where I was going until I got to that stage, and that's the first time we saw Julie.
That's wild.
Like you're blindfolded?
Allegedly.
A bag over your head and you're thrown in the back of a car? Allegedly. My final question is really not about Big Brother, but you have a life of service, obviously, with being in the military, working DEA for so many years now, again, working at a school just because it feels like you're a person that wants to give back so much. Where does that come from inside of you? Because you've led a life of service.
Yeah, as a kid, I was the youngest of 3. My oldest brother was an addict from the time he was like 13 years old. So I struggled in a household where we were trying to keep him sober and keep him off of drugs. And unfortunately, he had a long period of time where he was sober, but he ended up ultimately, succumbing to addiction, left behind a wife and 3 kids. And I think growing up and seeing that, I've always wanted to help people in that aspect. So I think that's why I kind of went more towards drug work. And it wasn't really necessarily about locking up drug dealers. It was more so, helping people who are addicted to drugs and helping the families. Like, people kind of forget that there's families, there's younger brothers and sisters and parents and aunts and uncles that are affected by this. And that was always my goal. And it still is my goal to try and, help those people get through some bad times.
That's really great. It's commendable. It also shows you how people with similar stories, again, I think it sounds like Kenney's background and my background are a bit similar. And Kenney went and did a life of service, and I'm here playing Name That Celebrity Fart.
Yeah.
We just went 2 different ways.
Yeah, totally different.
You guys
Can I ask him one more question?
Sure, go.
Hey, Kenney, so when you get voted off, you go out, you do your little interview with Julie Chen, and then they just kick you to the curb and send you on a plane, or do you get to hang around a few days and relax?
Yeah, it's usually about 24 hours. And then, as you guys know, I was ready to go home. So I was ready to get on a plane right there and then and grab my kids. But it's about 24 hours by the time you end up getting on a plane and getting home.
They fly you private, or do they make you do commercial?
They ain't flying you private, I bet.
No. I actually flew economy back.
Yeah, they ain't flying you private.
Yeah, economy.
I can tell you right now. Hey, I've been on these shows.
I got a middle seat, too. It wasn't good.
Oh, no!
Follow Kenney on Instagram, sweet_Kenney_K. And then Big Brother airs Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on CBS and Paramount Plus. Hey, Kenney, the next time we come to Boston, or if you decide to come to Nashville, we would love to meet you in person. This is not just me saying it. I just wouldn't say it. I would just be like, good to talk to you. Goodbye, Kenney. But I would love to meet you in person. Love to meet your wife. And we're up there a couple times a year. And if you guys come down here, please let us know. And it's been a real honor to get to spend a little bit of time with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything you do. And don't sell yourself short, Bobby. You do a good service for our communities, and the people love you.
And coming up next, name that celebrity fart. All right, Kenney. See you later, buddy.